I remember the time when you could make 5.5% interest on overnight money. Mm-hmm. We're getting 5.5% yield. You have $500 million, you're getting paid $30 million. By the way, I happen to remember when savings accounts paid 6% interest. It's like, and by the way, we didn't think we were getting a good deal from the bank. We thought that was totally reasonable. And every conventional wisdom was the risk-free cost of capital is 6 to 8%, and then you got to tack on a risk premium of 4%. So your real cost of capital is 12% to do anything, and that's the old day. So that's the way I thought about the treasury. And then I thought, and then there were other people, what else can I do with the money? You can buy your own stock back, or you can buy another company. Now, I teach a course in management theory to all my managers, and my number one question is, how do you wreck a software company? In my history, and by Raoul, I'm like the longest presiding public company CEO in the enterprise software industry. Nobody has been CEO of a public enterprise software company longer than me. 22 years, 88 quarters, I count them one at a time. Everybody came and gone. Okay, how do you wreck a software company? You have an answer for me? What do you think? Number one way to wreck it.
I'm assuming it's going to be acquire somebody else.
Make a acquisition. Make a bad acquisition. Okay, bingo. The CEO of SAP comes in. He lasts for 9 months. He buys autonomy. They take an $11 billion write-off. It's pretty impressive to burn $11 billion in 11 months on one transaction that you probably spent, I don't know, a few hours on. I mean, like, how many lifetimes, a million lifetimes to make $11 billion? So the number one way to kill a company is make a bad acquisition. So I got all this cash. Do I go buy something? I have lived long enough to see 90%. How about Microsoft buying Nokia? That was a good idea, right? And then along comes COVID. And COVID is this transformational experience. Thomas Kuhn in The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, which is the seminal work on the history of science, he wrote, when the paradigm shift comes along, right, the old guard, when we invent antibiotics or the science of sterilization or nuclear energy or whatever it is we invent, the old guard rejects it. No one accepts it until they're dead, unless there's a war. And the one thing that'll get people to change their mind is when they die and their kids take over. That changes some minds, right? Really, yeah. And the other thing that gets people to change their mind is a war. World War II, and as Trotsky said, you may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. And when the war arrives, you all of a sudden get interested in stuff that you were able to ignore because it was of an academic interest to people somewhere else. So this year, we got 2 wars. We got a war on COVID, and by the way, what's the war on COVID done? I would have fired you, Raoul, if you told me you wanted to work from somewhere other than my office. I would have said, you don't show up to my office, you're not sitting next to me, you don't have a job here. Last year, I was firing people that didn't want to come to work. Let me tell you what happens next. COVID hits, lockdown hits. I'm hating that idea. I thought I was going to buy gold, and a very smart guy that works for me, my consigliere, he said, Mike, I remember, gold back in the 70s and the 80s is $600, and then it traded down, and it's gone nowhere for a decade. And I'm like, everybody says gold's the ultimate hard money. What's the problem? What am I missing in this picture? And then here's what I realized. Gold's got an inflation rate of 2%. Over time, that means $100 million is going to be worth $12.5 million at 2%. You're going to lose 85% or 87% of your wealth if it inflates at 2%. But it's worse than that because gold's not pure. Half the gold supply is floating around, right? It's not all stamped good delivery bars in London. Yeah, that's the second problem. The third problem is if gold price goes up, every miner is your enemy. They're going to print more, they're going to mine more gold, they're going to ship more gold, they're going to capital invest in more gold. Anything that humans can produce with their brains and with capital is going to get overproduced. And that's the problem with using a commodity as a money, because ultimately, if gold is successful, then intelligent people are going to produce more gold, and you're going to double, triple, quadruple the supply of it. Now along comes Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. It's when I say it's harder than gold, I mean it's not just 10 times harder because it goes 100 years without losing any of its value. I say it's harder because it's an organic nest of cybernetic hornets feeding off of encrypted energy. It's a living thing, which means that the miners are going to keep upgrading their equipment. The developers are going to keep upgrading their development. The nodes are going to change. Everybody in the ecosystem is going to change. And they're changing in this terrifying Darwinian, capitalistic, libertarian, aggressive, winner take all, hold no bars, no one companies holding, like I've been CEO. I thought I was right. I was wrong. You could be the most brilliant CEO in the world. Anything that's controlled by a CEO is crippled. Controlled by a state is crippled. Controlled by a country, it's crippled. This entire thing is its own ecosystem. Gold is not going to get 1,000,000 times smarter in the next 10 years. It's not thinking at all. It's a lump of metal lying there, right? Nicholas Taleb wrote Anti-Fragile. I think Taleb is brilliant. I love all of his books, read every one of them twice, right? Bitcoin is an anti-fragile, evolving thing. It's hardest currency because it's getting continually exponentially harder. It's getting harder, but it's also smarter, stronger, and faster than gold, right? It's smarter because I can create a computer program, I can put it on a machine behind that bar, and I can have it make 1,000,000 trades with your crypto every night while you're sleeping and move it around, right? But I can't do it with gold. If I want to move $100 million of gold, I got to put it on a jet, fly it around the world. It's $250,000 to physically deliver $100 million worth of gold. I can physically deliver $100 million worth of Bitcoin in $5, right? $5 in 30 minutes, depending upon how risk averse you are.